Technology has influenced the way in which we view science fiction media and how we as humans envision the future of science and innovation. Technology in science fiction has been utilized to depict life as mainly dystopian and as taking control of human life and crossing many ethical and moral boundaries. This presentation will look at how these influences of technology have shaped science fiction cinema to convey this pessimistic view of life on Earth or other worlds. But first, we need to go back to 1902, the beginning of science fiction cinema. Arguably the first time the science fiction genre properly arrived on the silver screen was in 1902, when Georges Méliès, the illusionist turned filmmaker, released his masterpiece titled simply, A Trip to the Moon. In the film, a group of astronomers build a rocket and travel to the moon, encountering a mushroom forest and a tribe of strange beings. At the time, such travel seemed unimaginable, and the spectacle in the film had never been seen by audience. Audiences were, however, familiar with Jules Verne's 1877 novel From the Earth to the Moon, which had popularized the idea of space travel. A Trip to the Moon pioneered many experimental editing techniques still used today. One example is the famous scene in which the rocket appears in the moon's eye in a very stylized, unrealistic way. Then, in a much closer, more realistic shot, the rocket is shown plummeting into the lunar surface. This kind of non-linear storytelling was highly unconventional at that time. By 1902, the Industrial Revolution was in full swing, and artists like Méliès were imagining the lengths that the new technology could go to. Méliès created a vision of the future that nobody had ever imagined on film before then, and foresaw a manned mission to the moon. This film would inspire science fiction for generations to come, and prove a monumental achievement in cinema. Metropolis, made in 1927, is a German science fiction film written and directed by Fritz Lang. The film is set in the year 2000 and paints a grim picture of a dystopian future where society is divided into an elite upper class who live in high-rise towers above ground and a population of underground workers who slave away at the machines that run the city. Metropolis attempts to show the people of the city losing their humanity to machines. The workers have become slaves to the machines, and the rich elites slaves to their desires that the machines are designed to produce. The robot Maria is an example of this. She is both seductive and destructive. Originally designed by Rotwang, a mad scientist employed by the government, Maria was a slave who danced for the men in the city's nightclubs. She was later manipulated by her creator to incite violent revolution among the workers. This starts a long-lasting trope in science fiction of androids who are used as slaves but become intelligent and end up being the instigators of destruction. This concept is still prominent today with the rising fear of AI. The creators of Metropolis used many cinematic techniques to convey emotions. By filming the workers from afar, they create an emotional distance from the audience, stripping the workers of their humanity. The workers' robotic, almost machine-like movements also symbolize their entanglement with technology. Lang's vision of the future was unsettlingly accurate. The huge industrial cities and the mass manufacturing were all very accurately depicted. The film was made at a time seeing the rise of communism and socialist ideas. The Russian Revolution happened in 1917, and many were questioning the authority of those in power and the large industry owners. Metropolis also highlights the rise of mechanization and the fear of technology that came with the Industrial Revolution.
It's alive! In the name of God, now I know what it feels like to be God.
Frankenstein tells the tale of a gifted scientist, Victor Frankenstein, who succeeds in giving life to a being of his own creation by digging up body parts and animating them with electricity. However, this being is not the perfect specimen he had envisioned. Instead, it is a hideous creature who is rejected by Victor and society in general. Many of the themes and concepts in Metropolis directly relate to the ones explored in Frankenstein. In Metropolis, Rotwang, the creator of the robot Maria, is similar in many ways to Frankenstein. Both are ambitious scientists utilizing modern technology to play God and create a new form of life, and both end up with a monster that wreaks havoc within society, causing pain, destruction, and death. Although the original book of Frankenstein was published in 1818, the idea of bringing someone back from the dead was a lot more relevant in the early 1930s. Medical technology was advancing rapidly, and the first working defibrillator was invented in 1933. This is a poster advertising the defibrillator. The title, A Starter for a Dead Man's Heart, tells its own story. The overarching feeling of unease and uncertainty in Frankenstein can definitely be attributed to the film's use of lighting. Right from the opening funeral scene, the lighting is low-key and foggy, creating a mood of horror and unease, foreshadowing the grim story that will follow. But where Frankenstein really shines is in its use of juxtaposition in lighting to confuse and manipulate the audience. In this scene, where the monster is playing with the girl, the director James Whale uses bright lighting, suggesting to the audience that this might be a humanizing or happy moment. But the audience is tricked when the monster throws the girl into the water, killing her. A horror scene such as this is typically set behind dark, somber lighting. But the director, James Whale, flipped the switch and used bright lighting, throwing everyone completely off guard. America in the 1950s saw an increasing interest in space and space exploration. The space race between the US and the Soviet Union was taking place at the time, and both Russia and the US were at the forefront of technological innovation in creating new space travel equipment. As technology developed and a Cold War paranoia arose, America saw a rise in conspiracy theories and the belief in UFOs.
In France, like America, the flying saucer mystery makes headlines. A young Frenchman photographed this flying saucer, or is it, from a mountainside in central France.
Many began to wonder if other civilizations were really out there. Space, aliens, and flying saucers dominated pop culture and science fiction films. Among the list included The Day the Earth Stood Still, Earth vs. the Flying Saucers, Plan 9 from Outer Space, the list goes on. These films usually featured mysterious humanoid robots arriving on Earth in a flying saucer and invading Earth or revealing top-secret knowledge integral to human survival. Released in 1951, The Day the Earth Stood Still uses sound and music in a very experimental and innovative way. Bernard Herrmann, the composer, uses a unique electronic instrument called a theremin, which works by creating electronic signals by waving your hand between two electrical metal rods. The effect creates the haunting paranormal soundtrack, which perfectly captured the fear and mystery of the unknown. Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey is the first time a film attempted to create a truly realistic vision of space travel and what the future might actually look like. At its essence, 2001 explores the evolution of humanity and technological innovation, and the perils and possibilities that come with it. Arthur C. Clarke, the British author and futurist, was Kubrick's collaborator and worked closely with engineers from NASA to create future technology that were realistic and plausible. He predicted touchscreen tablets, video call machines, as well as space stations. In 1965, the first AI machine had been invented, a very rudimentary computer interacting using simple responses in text. Stanley Kubrick was highly aware of the research and developments in artificial intelligence, and even in 1968 was aware of the dangers. What is most unsettling in the film is how accurately it depicts the possible outcome of artificial intelligence in the future. The character HAL 9000, a highly intelligent supercomputer, starts off as a helpful and highly intelligent AI that can run and operate everything on the space station.
The 9000 series is the most reliable computer ever made. No 9000 computer has ever made a mistake or distorted information.
He makes friendly conversation with the crew and even plays chess with them. However, Hal begins to malfunction.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Prompting the crew to shut him down. He finds out about the crew's decision by reading their lips and decides to kill the astronauts, succeeding in killing all except one. The surviving astronaut, Dave, eventually shuts Hal down. Kubrick was a perfectionist when it came to sets and special effects. He wanted everything to be totally convincing. In this scene of the astronaut jogging around the space station, Kubrick had a 30-ton rotating wheel built as an interior set for the space station. It gave the illusion that the space station was spinning. Another special effect used in the film to show high-speed space travel is the slit scan effect, which creates brightly colored light in a moving stream. An effect we are now familiar with in science fiction TV and films such as Star Trek and Star Wars. Blade Runner is Ridley Scott's sci-fi noir based on Philip K. Dick's novel Android's Dream of Electric Sheep. The film is set in 2019 Los Angeles and depicts a dystopian city brawl writhing with a multitude of cultures and different races of people. The city is divided into an upper class and an underclass, with the rich elites living in large high-rise buildings and the underclass existing in the tightly packed urban sprawl. The comparisons between Metropolis and Blade Runner are evident. Blade Runner mixes high-tech and low-life, effectively creating the genre of cyberpunk. The film is a critique on the impact of technology and of the mixture of technology and poverty, foreshadowing a dystopian future and making a point about class and society more broadly. One example of this is the replicants created by the Tyrell Corporation, an effective slave population made by the upper class to work as slaves off-world. The 1980s social context and decaying urban environments informed Blade Runner in many ways. Namely, the neon lighting and signage of 1980s Tokyo is starkly depicted throughout the film. This neon glare symbolizes the separation of class through a light barrier, separating the poor streets from the elites living in the skyscrapers. In addition, the use of Japanese imagery, coupled with the neon signage, represents globalization and technological progress, both of which were prominent throughout the 1980s. In Duncan Jones's 2009 film, Moon, the Earth has run out of resources. The company, Lunar Industries, has devised a mining scheme, which has enabled Earth unlimited energy. The mine requires only one person stationed on the moon to manage the mining. Sam is the sole worker on the base. Through the course of the film, he discovers he's not who he thought he was, but a clone of an earlier Sam. Moon explores the possibilities and the questions of genetic engineering and cloning, as well as the moral and ethical issues it raises about identity, power, and control. Sam is unaware that he's only able to live for 3 years, and when, after an accident, he meets his new clone, he tries to find out the truth, despite the company's efforts to stop him. Although our current society does not allow the cloning of humans, research and technology has made this a possibility. In 1996, Dolly the sheep was the first cloned animal. The film reveals the dangers of a near future where human beings could be cloned and used by large conglomerate companies as slaves or soldiers. Sam Rockwell delivers an incredible and skillful performance as the two Sam clones who interact with each other and the AI computer Gertie. Rockwell acted by looking at a tennis ball on a stand, and 2 or 3 times a day, he would go into makeup to switch to the other clone. In this scene, he had to show the 2 differences in identity between the 2 clones. One who had been alive for 3 years, and the other for only a few weeks, which meant their life experience and personality were in extreme contrast.
Hey, can you turn that off for a second? I want to talk to you. Can you turn that off? Listen, I wasn't supposed to...
I'm trying to tell you something. Can you turn it?
Lunar instructed Gertie to lie.
Listen to me. I wasn't supposed to find you.
Woo! Tough guy!
The film shows how cloned humans might develop differently based on their life experience, as well as showing they are real humans with emotions and fears, and they should not be exploited as an easy workforce for large corporations. Technology has had a significant effect on the depiction of science fiction cinema and how life in the future is viewed and experienced through the human imagination. Science fiction films show us how technology and science are envisioned and imagined in positive and negative ways, both for human progress or for abuse of power and manipulation. The science fiction genre is in a unique position as it is able to explore the moral and ethical issues of innovation in science and technology.